Did you know that the Bible talks about the importance of celebration, of partying, of doing community and life and celebrating together in reflection of God's faithfulness? It tells stories of people who've gone through hard times and have gone through challenges and have come out on the other side by God's grace. And their immediate response is one of praise, of worship, and of celebration. A great example is Israel. When they were released from captivity from Egypt and they escaped out of captivity, and God brought them through the Red Sea, and they got to the other side, and they immediately stopped, and they worshiped God, and they celebrated, and they had a big festival, a big party together to celebrate what God had done. Another great example is from the book of Nehemiah. Now, Nehemiah is a guy who came back to Israel and came back to Jerusalem to help rebuild his city after it had been destroyed by some enemies. The enemies had come in and they destroyed the city, they destroyed the walls, they destroyed the temple, and they had already rebuilt the temple, but their walls had sat completely destroyed for over 70 years. Now, these were more than just physical barriers that kind of stood on the outside of Jerusalem. They actually were very symbolic of protection, of beauty, of city pride. And so for the walls to remain destroyed for that long, for the Israelites, it was a really challenging thing for them because it made it harder for them to protect the temple, and it also was a sense of humility, and it was a sense of not being strong enough or not being worthy. And so it was really important to them to rebuild. And so Nehemiah comes into Jerusalem and he leads his people to rebuild these walls. And he does so, he's a very strategic leader, and he makes it happen. And what is the response after they finally complete this task and they rebuild their walls? They celebrate. They have a party together. Hear this from Nehemiah chapter 12. It says, "At the dedication of the wall of Jerusalem, the Levites were sought out from where they lived and were brought to Jerusalem to celebrate joyfully the dedication with songs of thanksgiving and with the music of cymbals, harps, and lyres." This was a big homecoming. The Levites came from all over the place and came back to Jerusalem to celebrate with their people. The musicians also were brought together from the region around Jerusalem, from the villages of the Netophathites, from Beth Gilgal, and from the area of Geba and Asmaveth. For the musicians had built villages for themselves around Jerusalem. Right? And hear this. It ends on this note. It says, "And on that day they offered great sacrifices, rejoicing because God had given them great joy. The women and children also rejoiced, and the sound of rejoicing in Jerusalem could be heard from far away." This wasn't a quiet celebration. It wasn't a quiet dinner party. It wasn't a quiet thing that they did in private and in prayer and contemplation. This was a loud party. It was a rejoice and exaltation of what God had done for their people and for their city. And so for us, we too should celebrate when we encounter God's faithfulness. We too should celebrate together when we experience things that cause us great joy. We did this just the other week when we got together after we had finished building these beautiful new student center and this beautiful new fireside room that God had been faithful to provide for us for almost 25 years. We've been working on this project. And we got together and we celebrated with rejoicing, with worship, with a ribbon cutting, with lots of food, and celebrating loudly together. And so my encouragement for you this week is, what are some things in your life that are worth celebrating? Where are there moments that you should pause to say, wow, God, you have been faithful to carry me through that moment. Thank you. Let's praise and let's celebrate and let's worship that together. And if there's a way that I can come and celebrate with you, I'm always down for a party. Hit me up. You know where to find me. I'd love to celebrate with you. That's my encouragement for you this week. See you later. Have a good one.